All right, hope you're all feeling well. Our first class is the 10 Class Commandments, presented by Master Melody Schumann.
Hey everybody, thank you very much for participating in the second CWAY event here in Miami, Florida. Welcome to Miami, everybody. I hope you guys enjoy the venue and enjoy this beautiful state of ours. I'm from Florida as well, so it's very exciting to be down here. Really quickly, just want to thank ChampionsWay for the opportunity to speak here. I love the ChampionsWay team and always love doing presentations with them. They're a fantastic group, and the CWAY event is definitely very innovative and a lot of fun. So once again, I want to welcome you guys. Today we're going to talk about the class management skills. When I was invited to speak here, they asked me to speak on a new topic. So this is a topic that I do cover in pieces during my instructor certification. And whenever I cover it, I always seem to extend the topic. So I wanted to do it today here for you guys for the first time on stage in front of a large crowd. This is my favorite seminar, or my favorite topic to talk on is teaching. Because really in our school, it comes down to that. You can have a fantastic product, but if you cannot deliver that product, then unfortunately it's not going to work in your business. One thing that I have to say, my pride and joy in my school is my instruction staff. They're very, very cool. They are very innovative. They have a fantastic presence on the classroom training mat. And right now it's getting to the point where my school is pretty much running itself. I was in Australia for 2.5 weeks and had to cut the cord for that long period of time. And my staff did a fantastic job. And when I say my staff, I'm referring to my instruction team. One of the reasons why they do so well is because we have these 10 class commandments set in place that they have to follow each and every day when they teach. So hopefully the best thing you're going to get out of this particular seminar is just a guideline to follow for you and also for your staff. And it's not limited to your adults. This is also 10 class commandments that trickle down to our storm team, which ranges from the age of 7 to 14-year-olds. They understand these class commandments, they embrace them, and they apply them every single day. So this should be a really good motivational segment to kickstart the CWAY event. So let's go ahead and get started on the 10 class commandments. And the first one is, commandment number 1 is to connect with each student. If a student doesn't feel important, they're not going to be motivated in class. You have to build that strong connection with each and every student in order to get them to apply themselves and really put in a high state of mind when they're participating in class. If you think about it, it's been a long time since I've been in school, but if you think back when you were in school and you would go into your classroom, maybe sit in the back of the class, take out your backpack, take out your book, put your book on the table, the teacher teaches the lesson for the day, the bell rings, you close your book, you put your book back in the backpack, and then you walk out of class. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like the teacher didn't even know you existed in that class. Absolutely, it happens all the time. The value in martial arts is that we have really good relationships with our students. So it's very important. The first commandment of each and every one of our instructors is to connect with each and every single student during class. There's all kinds of different rules that you can use. The 3 times rule, which means that you make sure you refer to the student 3 times by name each and every class. Make sure that you give them at least 3 high fives each and every class. We just basically say every single student needs to be connected with the entire class throughout the whole class. So 3 times rule would be like the bare minimum for us. So here's some ways that you can connect with your student. Obviously, we're going to call the student by their name as much as possible. And we all know what's the best thing that a child wants to hear every day? Their name. They want to hear their name. So whenever you call them by their name, they feel excited. You're exactly right. And if I'm out at a restaurant or out at a mall and I call the student by their name, they're really excited. Oh, my instructor, karate instructor knows who I am. And they want to feel like they belong. So that's connecting with each student. Number 2, give lots of high fives and pats on the back. If you've ever looked through any of my drills or seen any of my other presentations where I include photos, because I love to include candid shots like this one right here, this is in a stage photo, you're always going to see high fives, pats on the back, hugs, nudges, all those things, because children are very sensory integrated. They use touch sensation more than verbal sensation. So you can show a kid that you're proud of them. Instead of just looking them down and saying you're proud, a high five goes a lot further with them. So that's what I mean by connecting with each student. Of course, you want to look the kids in the eyes. There's a lot of adult instructors who are very afraid of kids, so they look over everybody and not in their eyes. But children can see and read you when you look them in the eyes. If you can look them in the eyes and have a conversation with them, they're going to trust you and they're going to believe you. If you look at them and you always look away, they're going to feel like they're not connected with you. So that's very, very important to make eye contact. And we practice this a lot in my storm team class. And then, of course, number 4, Give everyone individual help during class. One thing I notice sometimes when I go to other martial arts schools and I watch their instruction staff, as a matter of fact, when I was in Australia, it was unfortunate. There was 3 instructors on the mat, and 2 instructors just kind of stood on the side with their arms behind their back. Well, the one instructor just walked around and said, okay, 10 push-ups on my count. Not even looking at the students and not walking around, but just pacing back and forth and just counting. 1, 2, 3, I can't hear you guys, 3, like this. And then the other 2 instructors were sitting on the side, hands by their side, kind of looking around, looking at each other, looking at their feet, fixing their belt, making sure that their hair looks good. And that was a perfect example of a class that definitely has a lot of room for improvement. Because if those instructors, instead of just standing there, were walking around, spotting the kids, high-fiving them, encouraging them, that class would have had a lot more energy in it. So that's why it's considered class commandment number 1 is connect with each student. You will never see any of my instructors standing around doing nothing, because then they won't be an instructor anymore. Okay, let's go on to commandment number 2. Utilize edutainment. And like I said throughout these slideshow presentations, all the shots are very candid, just so that you can see firsthand how active we are in the classroom. Edutainment is something that John Graydon published in one of the NAPMA magazines a long time ago. If you've been a NAPMA member back in the day, in 2000 when the Little Ninja program first came out, I think John Graydon was the one who coined it in the martial arts industry. It basically means educating students while you're entertaining them. Sometimes people will say, well, I don't want to be a Mickey Mouse instructor and bounce around and rock, rah, 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 rah. That's not edutainment. That's being a Mickey Mouse instructor. Edutainment means being able to make everything fun and exciting. You can turn the simplest punch, kick, strike, block, push-up into something really exciting and really fun if you know how to apply edutainment. So here's a few tips. Number 1, use trickery. Say something like, on your marks, get set, don't go. Raise your hand if you've ever been to my school. A couple of you guys, yeah, there's a lot of people here who've been to the school. And watch our students. They have fantastic listening skills. And it's from number 1 right here. And the parents really like this one. Because I always say when we're doing exercises, for example, okay, when I say go, laying on your back, when I say go, roll over to a push-up position. And then I'll say, I want to make sure you don't let me trick you. On your marks, get set. And I'll say grow, or row, or go-kart, or gopher, or goose. And my storm team likes to do it too. And you will trick them at first. But after they get used to it, they start to listen, and it teaches them very good listening skills, and it makes it very edutaining, if I should say. So even something simple as punching on a mitt or striking on a wave master, using that trickery, that's what I mean by edutainment. It's not rocket science. It's just the small little things that you can do to tweak to make things a lot of fun. Another form of edutainment is to use funny stories and examples. You really got to be witty and have a great sense of humor for this one. My storm team members are fantastic at it. They'll do, for example, when we're doing our warm-up, because warm-up is kind of probably the least exciting part of the class, correct? No kid really likes to exercise or anything like that, but it's important for them to wake up their muscles. A good example would be Bailey will joke around with them and say, okay, we're going to do 10 squat jumps, and if you hit your head in the ceiling, I'll give you 1,000 pizzas. Something like that. Or when we do push-ups, we say there's no seals in Florida except for at SeaWorld, so make sure that your back is bent. There's no mountains in Florida, so make sure your back is straight like a log. That's what I mean by funny stories and funny examples. And we'll use that in class when we have our storm team meetings. We'll see who can come up with the funniest, coolest story that will really edutain the kids. And then, of course, number 3, use nicknames when appropriate. We've got Manny Fresh, H2, L2D2, we've got John Wayne. A lot of our students have really cool nicknames, and it makes them feel more special in class. So let's go on to class commandment number 3. Use the mat chat to establish a purpose. Now, there's a couple of different definitions of mat chat, but just for you guys so that you understand where I'm coming from, what I mean by mat chat is that's where we sit down and we explain what we're actually doing each and every class. So we do our calisthenics with our students. I have a small sound problem. I'll try this again. Sure. Sure. I'll use microphone. That one? Okay. Apologize for that, guys. Hello? Okay, that worked. Going back to the mat chat, what I mean by mat chat is we do our calisthenics at the beginning of every single class, and that helps our students wake up their muscles. We give them a water break, then we sit them down in the middle of the mat, and then we do what's called a mat chat. And the mat chat is basically sitting them down and saying, this is what we're going to do for the day, whatever skill it is. If we're working on balance today, if we're working on focus, if we're working on coordination, if we're working on dexterity, we explain the skill that we're working on, the definition, and then how it applies to everything that they're going to do in class. That way they have value and they have purpose in it. Of course, we're also utilizing this time to build what's called intrinsic motivation. Now, this is something that's been around in the industry for a couple of years now. Everybody understands what intrinsic motivation is, correct? Intrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from the heart. I do this part a lot in my seminars, but if I were to say to you guys right now, I want everybody to put your pens down, I want everybody to stand up and go into the aisle, and I want everybody to do 50 push-ups. You guys will all say, you're nuts. Absolutely not, I won't do it. The same thing in class. If you say, okay, students, I want you to do 50 push-ups. Maybe they'll do it, maybe not. Most of them are going to say, oh, she's mean, she's a drill sergeant, I don't want to do that. But intrinsic motivation really can make a difference. Just adding a few more words in there can get everybody to do 50 push-ups. So for example, if I said, all right, if you guys are lazy, I don't want you to do any push-ups right now. But if you guys are really excited to be here at ChampionsWay this weekend, I want you to come on the aisle and show me by doing 25 push-ups. But if you guys are really strong and you're real martial artists and you're great shape, you shouldn't have any problem coming in the aisle right now and doing 50 push-ups. That would be intrinsic motivation for you guys, correct? A lot of you guys would probably want to do those 50 push-ups. Same thing with the kids. You say, okay, I want everybody to do 10 push-ups, but if you want to be a black belt, I want you to do 20. But if you want to be a master, I want you to do 30. But if you want to make your mom proud and me proud, I want you to do 40. But if you want to make yourself proud and reach a really challenging goal, I want you to do 50 push-ups. That's intrinsic motivation. How many students do you think will do 50 push-ups? Pretty much all of them. And I do that in class quite often, except for one time. This funny story is I did that exact same drill, and everybody did 50 push-ups except for one kid, Robert. He only did 20, and I looked at him. I said, Robert, why'd you only do 20? He's like, I just want to be a black belt, ma'am. It was the coolest thing. Excuse me. But that's intrinsic motivation. So during the mat chat, if you're explaining the drill and saying, okay, today we're going to work on focus, which is paying attention, so everybody line up so that we can build our focus. Maybe they're going to focus, maybe not. Or you could say, today we're going to work on focus, which is being able to pay attention, and the better your focus is, the smarter you are. And the smarter you are, the more friends you're going to have, the better grades you're going to have, and you're going to be able to accomplish more and more as you get older. Who would like to be able to accomplish everything that they set out to do when they get older? Raise your hand. Awesome. That takes focus. So we're going to work on that today. So everything you do, let's see you focus, because practice makes perfect. That's intrinsic motivation, and that's what commandment number 3 is using the mat chat to establish a purpose. Other things that you can do is ask the students to tell you in their own words what the skill or lesson of the day is and why it's important. The kids like to talk, right? You ask a kid, they like to answer you. So don't be afraid, because I remember in the past, I always thought downtime or having kids talk was retroactive for the class, and I always wanted to make sure that I looked good. And if the kids talked, then it didn't make me look good. Now I'm starting to realize that when I do a mat chat and I say, who has a really good balance story, and every kid raises their hand, I'm going to give them each a really quick chance to explain what balance means, because that's where they really start to pay attention and focus when they get involved. Other things that you can do is ask them how the skill or the lesson applies to their life outside of the dojo, and also give them examples of how the skill or lesson has helped them become a better person.
All tech support.
Press 2. Press 2.
So, class commandment number 3, it's very important for my students, my staff, my storm team members to really be able to deliver a fantastic mat chat. In this picture, this was actually 2 weeks ago. If you see the gentleman in the black, that's Mr. Andrew, and then right next to him is Miss Bailey. She's our 14-year-old newest staff member. She's explaining in our 3- and 4-year-old class what they're working on for the day. And that's a very important commandment, is be able to deliver that message. It's all in the mat chat. That's what I tell my staff and my students, my storm team members. If you can't deliver a good mat chat, your class is not going to be as effective. If you can deliver an awesome mat chat, that sets the pace for the rest of the class, so you need to be able to make sure that you master that commandment. Okay, commandment number 4, explain the rules properly. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I got put in martial arts when I was younger because I was so honoring. And I wanted to learn the rules so that I can break them and see how far I can push them. The funny story I always say is, believe it or not, when I was younger, I was really short for my age. So I always wanted to get a lot of attention from my friends and family and get people to like me. So I would do dumb things to get attention. And finally, my child psychologist said, put her in martial arts, that'll straighten her out. Because I didn't like rules. And now here I am giving out the rules. And I do realize that sometimes when you tell the kids rules or you tell your students rules, they don't listen to them, correct? Right? Absolutely. When I first opened up my school in St. Petersburg, Florida, on the other coast, the problem that we had with dodgeball is that we always seemed to have the lights break. The kids would kick the balls and the lights would break. Or the kids would grab and hog a whole bunch of dodgeballs and nobody else got any dodgeballs. Or the kids would climb on the wave bags on the other side of the mat and they would fall and they would cry and they would get hurt. So I would always tell them, stop kicking the dodgeballs. One dodgeball at a time. Don't climb on the wave bags. And I felt like every single class, I just should have recorded my voice and played it the whole time during dodgeball so that they would listen. Then I started realizing that maybe they just don't understand why I don't want them to kick the dodgeballs. So I sat them down and said, okay guys, please don't kick the dodgeballs, because if you do and it hits the light breaks, game over. We have to stop dodgeball. Nobody wants to stop dodgeball, right? Okay, also make sure you carry one dodgeball at a time, because if you hog all the dodgeballs, we're going to play less because not everybody's going to get a chance. So one dodgeball at a time. It's not fair if you grab all the dodgeballs. And also, guys, make sure you don't climb in the wave bags, because we've had a couple of kids fall and they get hurt. Raise your hand if you want to get hurt. Nobody wants to get hurt, and nobody wants the dodgeball to end too quickly because somebody got hurt. When I started explaining the rules properly, they started following along. So now when I tell, now when I tell my students, or tell my staff to explain the rules, it seems to work now. So instead of just saying, okay guys, I want you to stand straight, sit still, listen, focus, explain. Stand straight like this because it makes your posture look good, and it makes you look a lot cooler than standing like this. To me, there's nothing cooler than a 4-year-old who can stand really still and not move. To me, there's nothing cooler than a class full of kids like these 5- and 6-year-olds you see in this picture, sit really still. And when I say that, they want to sit really still. So that's what I mean by explaining the rules properly. Sometimes we get so caught up in focusing on the curriculum, we forget these little details that we need to apply in order to make our class more successful. Let's go on to commandment number 5, use your power. A lot of instructors feel like they have to stick to a planner and keep it going over and over again, and they don't know how to use their power to keep the class moving. The students will fall out of order, both kids and adults, if you do not use your power. Is that correct? Absolutely. So you want to make sure that you use your power to keep the class moving. So I basically say, if you're in charge of the class, it's your job to make sure that class runs smoothly. So don't be afraid to use your power. Here are some things that you can do. Check the students' motivation by asking the students to speak loudly when they're quiet. So for example, if you're running a drill and they're yelling and they're not yelling really quiet, use your power to get them to answer up. Don't just keep running the drills and ignore it. Say something like, I think the boys are yelling louder than the girls. Or I think the lower ranks are louder than the higher ranks. Anything to do to build a little bit of healthy competition, that's using your power. Also, have them sit in a safe area when you need to set up for a drill. The problem that some martial arts instructors have is they feel like the entire class time, they need to be on point. Every single student needs to be standing still, sitting still, the entire class. Well, I know for a fact that you guys today, after you've been here for a few hours, you're going to want to stand up and you're going to want to stretch and you're going to want to move, correct? And a lot of you guys are masters who have been in martial arts for years and years. You know you've mastered the art of sitting still and standing still. But at the same time, you still need to get a little bit of a break, correct? The same thing in our classes, use your power. So we have what's called a smart area and a safe area. If you're sitting in the middle of our mat, that's pretty much a smart area. That's where you're learning. That's where the knowledge is on. But if I'm setting up for a drill and it's going to take a second, I will say, okay guys, go have a seat up against the wall. That's their safe area. So I'm going to allow them to relax for a second. They don't have to sit still and stand still when they're over in that area. That way, I'm using my power to keep the class going, but also giving them a break so that they can regroup. And then of course, number 3, if you need extra time to set up, give them a water break. We do about 2 or 3 water breaks per class. Mostly because it's hot in Florida, but also because it gives them a chance to regroup and come down from that drill and then reset for the next one. If we don't have a water fountain, because I've had a couple people ask, well, we don't have a water fountain, so we can't give water breaks, go give your mom and dad a hug. Go sit on the side, high five your friend. Something like that, just to give them a chance to relax and unwind, set up for the next drill. That's what I mean by using your power. Okay, commandment number 6, use your wits. If you got to be really witty to be a martial arts instructor these days. Kids are very smart, the adults are very smart, so if you can use your wits in class, you're definitely going to be very effective, especially working, like I said, with the children. You have to be able to think quick on your feet, basically. And reason why this is a commandment is because I don't want any of my instructors to think that every single class is going to be a cakewalk. I would say that I generally have about 15% of the classes that I teach are a cakewalk. Everything just goes really good, no problems, no errors, nothing in class. But there's still that other 85% of the time where something's going to go wrong. A kid's going to have a bad day. There's going to be an accident on the floor, like what happened last week in my school. Two kids are going to argue. A drill's going to be not very effective. There's always going to be something going on. You need to be able to use your wits in class. That's why it's considered a commandment. So here's a few tips on how you can use your wits. Stop in the class when you see something extraordinary, and then pointing it out to the rest of the class. So if you see somebody punching really strong, kicking really strong, that's the whole idea, right? The whole idea is to really reach a high level of performance in martial arts. So when you see those students reach that high level, stop the class, use your wits, point it out. That's good intrinsic motivation for the student that you're pointing to, but it's also a good motivation for all the other students to see the ones who are trying hard. And kids like attention, correct? I mean, who doesn't like attention, right? Kids love attention. So use your wits in class and remember that. You don't have to just run a full drill and keep it at a steady pace. Use your wits to make it very exciting. Use your wits and point out the kids who are doing really well. That's why it's a good commandment. Number 2, adding edutainment to the drills and the mat chats. That's using your wits as well. And number 3, knowing how to handle students when they're switching drills if the students are just not getting it or if it's taking too long. I tell my instructors, you got to prepare for a drill not to work. Because if the drill doesn't work, you need to be able to edit and amplify it and work on something that actually is going to be effective. That's what I mean by using your wits. Commandment number 7, using your team effectively. The story that I just said, how the instructors were standing on the side and not doing anything. Boy, in my last school, we used to have an junior instructor team, like our storm team. But back then I was so greedy and I was so afraid that parents were going to judge me if I had kids on the mat or if things didn't run well, that I didn't really use my team. So I had a lot of storm team members who just kind of stood on the side and didn't really do anything. Raise your hand if you've done that in the past, or you have, or you still do it, right? You got to use your team. I have parents time and time again telling me, you know what, really like you, really like Mr. G, really like Mr. Andrew, but I tell you what, our kids, when they come home, they talk a lot about the storm team. They talk about Clayton, Bailey, B-Man, Jake, Bobby, all of these storm team members because they can relate to them. They can kind of relate to me too because of their height, but realistically, the younger kids, when they see them being leaders, it's a very good motivator. So use your team effectively. They are actually your product. It's not your black belts that are your product, it's your leadership team that really is your product because they're to a parent, there's nothing cooler than watching somebody like Clayton, a 14-year-old, be able to run a full class or be able to lead a drill, high-five the kids, explain how to do it. Parents see them relating to those people that they look up to close to their age. So use your team effectively. You should never have any team member just sitting around doing nothing. So make sure you delegate your team to help set up with the drills. Make sure you delegate your team to be group captains. And also role play with your team during the drill. So when I explain the drills, I love to get them up there and perform. Going back really quickly, delegate your team to help set up for each drill. Sometimes I get a little greedy. Now I'm learning how to step back and, like I said, cut the cord a little bit and let my team set up the drill. So I'll say, okay guys, I need an obstacle course. Set up the 3 bars that you crawl under over here, 8 rings right here, and 2 mitts right there. Ready, go. I know I could do it, but it delegates them, and they like that responsibility. And also, like I said, delegate your team to be group captains. Raise your hand if you do ninja nights, parent nights, summer camps, things like that. All right. Right now, it's an autopilot for us. So here's what we do. Whenever we have we run everything the same. Our summer camps, our parent night out, our ninja nights, any kind of event where we bring the students in, we play games. We do fun camps. When the kids all get there, I have them sit up against the wall. And I delegate my team. If I have 4 storm team members I ask to participate, I'll put them in one in each square, and I'll say, okay, Clayton, I want you to pick 4 kids really quick. All right, Bailey, pick 4, B-Man, pick 4, Caitlin, pick 4. And then they continue picking until they have their team. Then I'll say, sit down with your team, come up with your team name, and come up with a team number 1 through 6. And they do, we write them down. And then we roll the dice, and whatever number it lands on, if your team number is 4, and it lands on 4, you guys get to pick the first game. And then we alternate from martial arts drills to games. So I have a list of martial arts drills, and I have a whole list of games. If you want that list, go ahead and email me. I'll give you my email address at the end of class, but I'll email you the list of games that we have and the drills and the explanations of how we do them. It's very simple. My summer camps this summer, we're in autopilot. I got to sit back and watch them take turns running the drill. So for example, if Clayton's team got to pick the game, and the game was something simple like Red Rover, all right, Clayton, you're in charge, run the game. And he would run it. Then the game's over, we have them go back to their groups, roll the dice again. Whatever number it's on, they get to pick the game. That team captain gets to run the game. So use your team effectively. I'm going to be going to Australia twice a year for 2.5 weeks each time, and it's very, very scary to leave my school. But I tell you honestly, even I took a couple of days off to do the CWAY event. I tell you honestly, they are running the classes really well because I'm finally learning how to cut that cord. So don't be afraid to use your team effectively. But also I explain to my staff members, make sure that you use the Storm team members as well. Because I know that I do really good at using them, but you have to make sure that whether you have a junior instructor running a drill or you have an adult running the drill, they still need to understand the importance of using their team while they're on the mat. That's why it's an important class commandment. We don't want any instructors just standing there. Okay, commandment number 8, prompt good behavior. We all know that there are going to be great students and there are going to be students who are honoring and make bad choices. I would say that a large percent of the children, particularly in children, because right now that's my area of specialties, particularly children who are in your class, a lot of them are there because of behavior issues, correct? And I would say, even as much as I love kids and I understand kids and I get kids and I have years and years of research and development on kids and our curriculum is so age specific that really it's almost an autopilot, I would still say that there's about 20% of the kids in the Pinellas County area that I am not qualified to teach, that just are not quite ready for the martial arts program. And out of the 80% that I am qualified to teach, I would say that about 60% of them are there because of behavioral issues. Now, it's not because they're a bad kid, it's just that they make bad choices all the time. So when a parent calls and says, I want to know about your children's martial arts classes, and we explain to them what it is. Well, my child needs discipline. How are you going to teach my child discipline? Well, how are you going to teach the child discipline? Are they going to learn because you're going to yell at them and because you're going to force them to sit still and stand still? Well, maybe they'll follow along, but are they really going to want to do it and be intrinsically motivated? Probably not. That's why this is a great commandment. Prompting good behavior really makes a difference. And we probably do it and don't realize it. We probably actually prompt a lot of behavior and don't realize that we're doing it every single day. What I mean by prompting good behavior is catching somebody who's doing it really good and pointing it out. In this drill right here, I'm pointing to Jordan because she got in a guarding stance really strong and yelled really loud. And I said, oh, well, hold on. Hold the phone. Using my wits. Class, take a seat. Watch Jordan get in this guarding stance really loud. That's awesome. So I'm prompting her. I'm catching her doing something really good. Especially kids who are out of line. If you really know your students, we've got a couple of students, Robert in particular, he's very, very wiggly, he rolls around the floor all the time. So I like to catch him doing good. Because even though about, let's say 70% of the class, he's a little bit out of whack, there's still about 30% where he actually is following along, right? Even the kids who make the worst choices in class, they still have their times where they're doing good. You want to set them up for that success and catch them and point it out. So somebody like Robert, who always wiggles all the time, when we're doing a drill, I'll say, okay guys, when I say go, I want everybody to line back up on their spot as fast as they can, and stand feet together, hands by your side, and I want to see who can beat Robert and who can stand as still as Robert. And so I'm prompting him to be really good. And then I'll say go, and they run, they line up, and I catch Robert and go, oh! Robert stood really still, Robert was the fastest, awesome job, Robert. So I'm setting him up for success. That's what I mean by prompt good behavior. It's a very good class commandment. So catch students with good behavior when they least expect it, right? If everybody's all standing still all the time and you tell them that they're doing good, that's good. But also when you're doing line drills, if you see one of your students standing still in the line, catch them when they least expect it and compliment them. And you know what happens? Everybody else follows suit, correct? Yeah. Okay, number 2, look for students that are sitting, standing strong, trying hard during drills, behaving in line and group work, and of course answering loudly. And then of course number 3, if you notice that most of the students are not demonstrating good discipline, use the line-up method, like I say, by challenging them to line up. Kids like challenge, particularly. Everybody likes a challenge, so use that to prompt good behavior. Commandment number 9, nurture poor behavior. I picked this picture right here because this little guy right here, as fantastic and as adorable as he is, makes a lot of bad choices in class only because he wants to be the rock star each and every class. So he wants to be first. He wants to, oh, I think Robert's the loudest. How about me? How about me? How come I'm not the loudest? How come I can't be the counter for 4 quarters? How come I can't hold the target? How come I can't be the line leader? So I had to put that picture in there because If I constantly just yelled at Colin and told him, it's too bad, we have to take turns, go sit down, kids don't understand that, right? I don't understand that even as an adult. You think that this little guy right here, 5 years old, he's got the soul of a 50-year-old and a vocabulary of a 30-year-old. He's a genius, but even just logical, everybody needs to have a turn, little buddy, that doesn't go with him. So you have to be able to nurture poor behavior with him. And I will say something like, Colin, I understand you want to always be first, but if I always pick you first, and don't you feel bad for all the other kids who aren't going to be able to go? So why don't you do this? Instead of me having you be first, I'll give you a better job. You ready? You get to pick who gets to be first out of all these kids. And he loves that. He's like, let me see. Okay, Jill, you get to be first today. And then boom, he's done. That's what I mean by nurture poor behavior. There's a lot of times where I caught myself in the past losing my cool. And when I was teaching martial arts in my last school, 700 students, it was a belt factory. I'll have to admit, I'll be on stage and I said it, I had a belt factory. It was all about the memberships and it was all about the bottom line. I was 25 years old with a very successful school and pretty much didn't want to teach anymore. I almost quit. And fortunately, NAPMA saved my life, John Green saved my life, in my career, and got me involved in the Little Ninja program, and it spurred this whole new interest. So when I sold my 4 schools in South Florida, and I traveled around the world and did seminars, and I was like, man, this is awesome. And then Jill said, all right, Melody, it's time to open up another school. And I was like, oh, no, you have no idea how hard it is. It's a lot of work. It's very stressful. You're not going to be on the mat teaching every day. You're going to be behind the counter. I'm going to be on the mat. It's too hard. Jill said, too bad. We have to. We have a lot of streaming content members who really want to see you teach again. So she forced me to be back in action. And we've got a couple of people who've seen me, Key and RJ and Mark, Speranza, they see me with my other school, go to no school, going to opening up a school. And it was very hard. One of the reasons why I didn't want to open a school is because of those kids who every day when you walk in, you're excited to teach class, and then, oh, Colin's here. And you're like, oh, this is going to be a hard class. Looking over, which instructor can I have run this class, right? And you do that each and every day. Carlos, you're running this class, have fun. And Andrew, you're running this class, have fun. Well, I didn't want to be that way this time. And I kind of started to think about it and self-reflect. And I was like, why didn't I want to be a martial arts teacher anymore? And it was because whenever I lost my cool, I kind of felt like I lost a little bit of my character. And I lost a little bit of myself. So I said, when I open up this school, when I teach these classes, you're not going to see me lose my cool. And I don't anymore. One of the reasons why is because I understand this concept of nurturing poor behavior, nurturing people like this, and being more patient with them, and being more understanding, and knowing that the child's behavior does not make the child. Just because a child hits somebody does not mean that that child is a bully. It just means that that child made poor choices. So that's what commandment number 9 is really remember to nurture the poor behavior, and just remember that they just made a bad choice. I make bad choices all the time, and I live up to them, but it doesn't make me a bad person. We all make bad choices sometimes, right? Okay, so here, to help nurture students with poor behavior, follow these tips. Help your students understand that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. That's very important because there are times where you're going to have tasks that the students cannot or are unable to do. Even as age-specific as our classes are, because we have 3 and 4-year-olds in one class, 5 and 6-year-olds in one class, we have 7 and 9-year-olds in their own class, and then 10 to 14-year-olds in their own class. So it's really age-specific, so we're not really worried about having a drill that's challenging enough for the teenagers, but the younger kids can't keep up, and then vice versa. We don't have drills that are easy enough for the younger kids, but the teenagers are getting bored. It's very, very, very specific, but even then, you're still going to get students who are, either they have low tone, or they have learning disability, or something prevents them from being able to keep up. And when that happens, they get frustrated. So if you can show them, it's okay if you cannot do the 50 push-ups. Now we know that that's something that you can set your goal for. Sometimes it's good not to be able to do 50 kicks. We've got a lot of rock stars in our class. When our 5 and 6-year-olds, when they graduate from the program, their graduation, they have to do 50 push-ups, 50 squat jumps, 50 leg raises, 50 jumping jacks, 50 kicks without putting their foot down. And it can be very challenging. But it's okay if you can't do it, because now, when you're able to do 50 kicks, you've accomplished a fantastic goal. I like being able to know what I cannot do, because then it gives me something to look forward to. If you're a rock star at everything, then life isn't as fun, right? Okay. Number 2, like I said, address the behavior, not the child. So I'm starting to learn how to use this, and it takes a lot of practice, guys. But you have to start somewhere, and you have to get your staff to be there too. Because a lot of you who are out here are probably fantastic martial arts instructors, but you're listening to this because you're thinking about your staff members at your school and your instructors and future people who you want to be running your business when you're ready to take breaks and go to Fiji and take a couple of weeks off, right? Or come hang out with me in Australia for a couple of weeks. Your staff needs to be able to do this. So like I said, for example, if a kid hits somebody, that doesn't mean he's a bully, it just means he made a bad choice. So I find myself quite often in the office at back to school time, right? Raise your hand if you go in the if you're that second parent, right? You have to go in the office, mom says, Hayden is kicking everybody at school. Well, if you bring Hayden in the office because he's kicking everybody in school and say, why did you do that? That's bad to kick that kid at school. The kid's gonna think he's bad. If you say, oh, that was a bad choice to kick the kid, what kind of choices could you have made better? You could have used your words. You could have walked away. You could have told an adult. That's what I mean by nurture poor behavior. Instead of blaming that kid, tell him what he did was a bad choice. That right there, bad choice, if you use that, you're going to start to notice that the kids are going to respect you more. And they're going to embrace it a little bit more. They're not going to be so afraid of you anymore. If you keep saying you're wrong or you're bad, they're probably going to be afraid of you. And then of course, number 3, understand that everyone has the ability to succeed and overcome bad choices. If you believe in that kid and you believe that they can overcome those bad choices, they will believe in themselves. If you say, oh, this kid, he's not going to do very well, then he may not do very well. But you can change somebody's life just by nurturing poor behavior. Let's go on to commandment number 10, and that is end on a high note. A lot of my instructors and people that I look up to and mentors who have inspired me along the way have the same philosophy that worked really well in the 90s in martial arts schools, where they would say, end the class with your character lessons. And the reason why you want to end the class with the character lessons is because that's the last thing that they hear, right? So the last thing they hear, and also that's what parents hear when they come in to pick up their kids. They're hearing you talk about character. So if Johnny doesn't want to come to class tomorrow, then mom's going to say no, but they're teaching you character, so you have to come. But who really ultimately makes the decision on whether or not the student is going to continue to take class? The kid. The kid, right? Okay, so check this out. You know, children have this learning capacity. We all have a learning capacity where we reach our threshold. And then after that, anything else that comes into our ears, we just goes right out the other, correct? Yeah, we forget a lot. Same thing with kids. At the end of class, they've just had a very intense class. They've exercised, they've worked, they've trained, they've maybe had a couple of little instances where they got a little frustrated, but they overcame it. Class ends, and now you want to talk to them about courage, or now you want to talk to them about perseverance, or now you want to talk to them about respect. They're sitting there listening to you going, I can't wait until you're done. I'm ready to go home, I'm ready to play video games, my karate time is over. And then you had class, mom usually talk about respect, well, that's fantastic. Gets in the car, so what'd you learn about respect? I don't know. And mom's like, well, you should learn, you should be paying attention at the end of class. And the next day mom says, okay, Johnny, ready to go to class? No, mom, I don't really want to go to class today. Well, you're learning about respect, so you have to go to class. So he comes to class, and the whole class is having a really good time, but mom comes up to me and says, I don't understand it. He fights me to come to class, but then when he gets here, he has a really good time. Raise your hand if you've heard that before. We all have. The reason why is because at some point in that class, they had frustration and boredom, and they don't know how to process that, and they don't realize it. So when you're talking about respect, they may not realize that they're bored to death, but they're bored to death. Or they're frustrated, or they're just not interested. And they don't realize it, and they don't process it. So when they get home, they're just kind of like, oh, I'm just glad to be home. I'm glad that class is over. So when mom says you need to go, they're like, they just remember that frustration. They remember that last thing in their head. That's why they don't want to come. So we do things a little bit different at our school. Remember I said we do our calisthenics? We get the oxygen flowing in their body and into their brain. Then we do the mat chat at the very beginning, where their level of retention is at its best. At the end of class, they're ready to go home, so what do? We play dodgeball. Lots and lots of dodgeball. We play games. We always end class with something fun. And we make sure that us as instructors, we participate too. So we're out there playing dodgeball, we're getting hit, we're hitting them, having a really good time. They're really excited. Class ends, Johnny gets in the car. How was class? Oh, I got Mr. Andrew in the head 5 times. It was really cool. He even had a red spot because I hit him with the dodgeball. Really excited. Goes home, plays his video games. Mom says, you ready to go to class today? Yeah, I hope we play dodgeball again. I can't wait. Because really, that's all kids are thinking about, is dodgeball, 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 games at the end of class. I always use that in the mat chat too. And if you guys do really good, we'll give you an extra minute at dodgeball at the end of class. Yes! They'll do anything for dodgeball. So that's commandment number 10, is always end class on a high note. There's only been 3 instances in class where I didn't play a game. And you can ask Jill, I go home and I'm upset about that, because when we're hanging out, we're talking at dinner, we're talking about the day, I feel bad. Those 5 and 6-year-olds, they're home right now sad because they didn't get their dodgeball in today. Dodgeball's like cracks in them, they need it. So always end class on a high note. That's class commandment number 10. Make sure you end with a fun game. Make sure every student feels like a winner. High fives, lots of hugs, and reinforce energy, enthusiasm when they bow out. So if you notice on this picture, again, candid shot, 3 and 4-year-olds. One of them hit me with a dodgeball, I think, and I fell. And then they all just jumped on me and started throwing dodgeballs. Don't be afraid, even if you're, an older guy who's traditional martial arts grandmaster. Don't be afraid to still be a little bit of a kid right here, because that's what makes these people stop what they're doing at home, put their karate outfit on, put their shoes on, get in the car, drive all the way to your martial arts school, get out of the car, and run into that school every single day. It's this right here. It's this relationship right here that makes them want to do it day in and day out. And if you've ever been to my school, those kids, the shoes are off the minute they walk into the door. They're ready to jump on that mat, they're ready to play, they're ready to have a good time. It's nothing but smiles and energy and enthusiasm because of this right here. You gotta let go a little bit of yourself. You gotta take risks and you gotta take chances. And if you can, and if your staff can, it's gonna get big results. Your retention rate is gonna go higher. You're gonna be able to charge more money, because realistically, martial arts tuition, we're worth $500, $600, $700 a month for what we do. Especially at my school. For these kids right here, the social interaction they're getting, the physical development they're getting, the emotional development they're getting, the social development they're getting, the intellectual development, that's priceless. How much would you pay to see your child smiling like that, relating, and having a really good time? You pay anything for them. But out of the goodness of our heart, we understand the economy and the recession, so we keep our prices a little bit lower. But it's all this right here that makes teaching worthwhile. It makes those kids, it makes it worthwhile for them to come into your martial arts school each and every day. So those are the 10 class commandments. And what we're going to do right now, how am I doing on time? I got 2 minutes? Okay, so really quickly, here's how it works in our school. We have what's called a STORM team, which is a special team of role models. It is a separate standalone program that we have at our school. And what we do is every single month we have a monthly meeting, and the meeting's only 45 minutes, and we go over a topic. And sometimes the topics are one of these commandments. We'll go over the 10 class commandments, and we'll talk about that topic for the whole class, and then we'll do some role playing and some hands-on training on how to apply it in class. And then the whole month, that's their goal, is to make sure that they maximize that class commandment right there. And our STORM team right now, it's sold out. We have 14 fantastic STORM team members. We have a waiting list on our STORM team. We've got at least 5 students who are dying to get on our STORM team program. And if you've ever been to my school, and if you've ever seen my students teach, you know what I mean. Our STORM team is fantastic. And the reason why they're fantastic is because of these 10 class commandments. So if you would like a PDF copy of this PowerPoint presentation, you can email me, melody@shimmenconcepts.com. Also, I did offer you something else. I offered you the list of games that we go over and the description of those games, and also a list of the martial arts drills that we have. And I just figured out how to put videos online. You know, I'm still kicking it old school with a lot of things, but now I figured out how to put video online, and we just had our escape event last month, and we had our STORM team members run an entire 5 and 6-year-old class from the beginning to end. So I'm going to post that online, and I'll have a link available, so you can email me for a link if you want to see the STORM team in action, and see how many of the 10 class commandments you can catch during that video presentation. As a matter of fact, I was watching it while downloading it onto my computer last week. And I was thinking about coming here today and wondering, you know, I preach 10 class commandments, and it's one thing to say, do this, do that, but it's another thing to really actually do it and apply it. And I wanted to see if my STORM team members were doing it. They hit every single one of them. Every single one of them, in my personal opinion. So I invite you guys to check it out and let me know what you think as well. Okay, what we're going to do from here is we got 15 minutes of Q&A, and then we're going to switch it over to the Perfect Mind training on some lessons that I'm very interested in learning as well. So how do we want to work this, Vahid? Do you want to just have people?
Question, just raise your hand, we'll give them the microphone.
Okay, perfect. Okay, questions?
How much much extra do you charge for your storm team?
How much extra do we charge for our storm team? Our storm team is $500 for the year for most of our members who are already on it, but that price is going to go up to $750 per year because it's priceless. Now, I have a lot of people on that note because a lot of people will say, well, they're teaching your classes, shouldn't you be paying them? No, this is the way our storm team program is. It's called Special Team of Role Models, and basically what it is we're helping them become leaders. You know, if you take a leadership class at a school, like at a college or high school, and they teach all these leadership skills, they say, okay, here's how to be a leader, then they say, okay, now go and apply it to the world. What we do is we build leadership skills, and we tell them, now what we're going to do is give you an opportunity to apply the leadership skills that you've learned to actual hands-on training. So they learn their lessons every single month in our Storm Team program, and then that month they get opportunity to apply it into real-life situations, which is at our school, hands-on training. To me, that has value. So if you have a son or a daughter who you want to become a leader, whether they're 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, and you say, you know, I want my child to be a leader, kind of like you, because you have charisma and confidence, and you go out there and you speak, and the number one fear of Americans is public speaking, and I want my child to have that too. That's what the Storm Team program is. We teach you how to be a leader and how to have this confidence and this charisma and this character, and then we give you an opportunity to apply it in our actual martial arts classes. And we do. You cannot limit it to having a Storm Team program, teach them on the monthly meeting, and then just have them do whatever in class. You have to be teaching them while they're in class. So if you ever watched me teach with my Storm Team members, while I'm working with my students, my Storm Team members are also treated as students in class. So I'm saying that was a fantastic drill. Make sure that when you do that, your body language is important. So if you're slouching when you're doing that drill, it kind of shows less confidence. So make sure you're standing really strong because that projects a lot more confidence. So I'm actually teaching them as well. And that has extreme value to it. Who wouldn't want to have their child learn how to become a better leader? And have the opportunity to apply those leadership skills to first-hand experiences. Somewhere really cool like martial arts. I mean, where else would you want your child to learn how to speak in front of people and motivate other people than in a martial arts setting? I can't think of another place. I even get goosebumps just thinking about that. I wish my chihuahua could be in the Storm Team. Okay, other questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, Melody. My name is Adam Lipkin. I run programs throughout South Florida, and we're very active in the school system. We do a lot of self-defense courses. I'm curious what you're doing in the schools up in Pinellas and Hillsborough, and how you integrate your on-site satellite programs with your actual academy, like how you move the children from the satellite to your academy to get advanced training.
Well, that's a good question, Adam. I don't do satellite programs anymore, not in my particular area. Adam, the reason why I don't is simply just because we don't really need to in our area. We've got a very good referral-based system. I live on the beach, so I like to go to the beach during the day. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I've done it in the past, so I'll explain to you how I've done it in the past, and I also work with a lot of schools who do it as well. A lot of martial arts schools that I work with, first thing you have to do is you have to network and you have to build the connections. And there's many different ways that you can build connections. Number one is just by sending letters to all the local schools in your area. If you'd like a copy of the letter that I have for my Sherman Concept members, you can go ahead and email me. I'll give you a copy of that letter. The other thing is to participate in as many types of networking opportunities that where school leaders are going to be. Chamber of Commerce meetings, a lot of charity events and fundraiser events. We just went to a Swanky Soiree charity event. It was very expensive. It was $150 a ticket. But it was probably the best $150 you can spend when you're meeting teachers and leaders in your area to build those connections and just basically saying, I run a martial arts school, I have a fantastic satellite program where you don't even have to worry about busing the kids. I will come directly to your school and run a fantastic program. We can run it ongoing, or we can do it as an 8-week course just to give your students a little bit more motivation and spruce it up, because martial arts, the number one thing about martial arts is that we build discipline, we also build motivation, and what kind of school does not want to have better discipline and motivation in the classroom, correct? So set up a meeting or give them a letter, go in there and run your program either as an ongoing course, which I used to do in my schools in South Florida. We run them on an ongoing basis, mostly at the preschools, and we charge $45 per month, where I would go there twice a week and run the program. I collected all the payments. I simply gave the school letters that they gave out to all the parents with their registration, and then they just set up a folder at the front desk, so when I would come in, I would have the registrations for all the students, and then I would have the monthly payments in there as well. And I would run the program. I didn't really bring those students into my school because they were ongoing. They pretty much were there because it was inconvenient to go to our regular school. But we put them on our mailing list, and we would send them our newsletters, and also I'd always invite them to my school. When you're doing an 8-week course, the best thing to do is run that course and then have a celebration at your school at the end of that course. Don't say testing, and don't say anything that's going to make them go, yeah, you're going to try to convert me over. Just at the end of the 8 weeks, say, hey, we're going to have a party. It's going to be 2 hours long. We're going to have cake. We're going to have pizza. And we're going to play games at my school. We're just going to celebrate your graduation. Then once you get them to your school, it's kind of a piece of cake. Then from there, you can offer an enrollment special. Any type of enrollment special that fits your particular demographics, whether it's waive the down payment, give them an extra free uniform, buy one, get one free, whatever, depending on where your school is. Obviously, if you're a new school, buy one, get one free is the best way to go. I've been working with a lot of schools who are opening up schools right now, and they're saying you're right, it does, because it fills warm bodies into your school. Waive the down payment, those are good offers, something like that. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, and I do have a whole booklet. It's called the Future Kids Pre-K program, which is actually the preschool program that I used to run at my last schools, and also members that I work with run it as well. So if you want that, go ahead and email me, and I'll give you a copy of that. But you can essentially do the same thing in elementary schools, and probably not middle schools, but elementary schools. Okay, next question? Yes.
Just right quick, for those of us that are student concept members, is all of this available? That
Yes.
you're talking about on
Yes,
there?
yes, Tony, all this information is available. As a matter of fact, another great reason why I'm here this weekend is because I have been spending the last year converting everything from Human Concepts over to the Perfect Mind platform, so that it's all going to be archived in its own folders. So you'll go to the letters folder, and you click on letters, and all the letters, we have like 50 different letters right there. Or booklets, all the booklets, our Storm Team booklet, our employee booklet, our classroom booklets, that's all going to be on there. So I'm here this weekend to finalize all that, and it'll be available hopefully to you guys next week. So you'll get a link to go ahead and register onto the new site so that you can get your new login and passcode. And then hopefully by January of next year, we're just going to switch everything entirely over to the Perfect Mind system.
Helpful?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Question for you regarding your age-specific categories. Do
Okay.
you find, how imperative is it, in your experience, to have that 7 to 9-year-old group in that 10 to 14-year-old group, as opposed to running 7 to 13 or 7 to 14, etc.?
For me personally, it's imperative. Because what I want to do every single day is I want to have dramatic results and measurable results. And when you have 7 to 14-year-olds in the same class and you run a drill, the 7-year-old can keep up with, the 14-year-old is going to be bored. And then when you run a drill the 14-year-old can keep up with, the 7-year-old is not going to be able to keep up. So it's a roller coaster drill. It's like teaching math to 7 to 14-year-olds, which is basically what, 4th grade to 8th grade. You cannot take 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders and teach them all math and have them all be challenged. Correct? It's the same thing with martial arts. Now, I'm not saying that if you do have 7 to 14-year-olds that your program is not going to be results driven, because you definitely will. But for our particular program, we're very expensive. We also are very cutting edge in how we deliver the curriculum, and we like to say that we are a high-quality martial arts school. But I do have a lot of friends who run after-school programs and who run large group classes, and they're considered a convenient martial arts school. So it depends on what you want. Do you want to have a martial arts school that targets the market that really wants convenience? Or do you want to have a martial arts school that targets the quality? But you can't have both, correct? Like martial arts. McDonald's. I love Happy Meals. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Happy Meal person. Very, very, very convenient to just run through the drive-thru, get a Happy Meal, run up to the school, right? Is it the best hamburger in the world? No. But it was convenient for me, so it fit my needs. Okay, then we have this place called the Green Iguana. It's on the water, and they have the best hamburgers in the city. Fantastic hamburgers. Like Mondays is $5 hamburgers at Green Iguana. I always get very excited because Jill and I usually go there and sit out in the water and have. It's a very high quality hamburger, but it takes forever. And I have to make sure that I have at least an hour in my day to sit down and eat that hamburger. So we like to consider ourselves the Green Iguana hamburger of the martial arts schools, and then you have your McDonald's. And you can have both because McDonald's is very successful, and so is Green Iguana. So you just have to decide where you want to be. For me personally, my classes go in order each day, Monday through Thursday. 3 and 4-year-old classes first, 5 and 6-year-olds, 7 and 9-year-olds, 10 and up, black belt, then adult, which I don't run the adults. But that means I start off my class every single day really immature, and then I mature as my day goes on. And it really helps me enjoy every single thing that I do every single day.
So then, if I may add to that then, So, excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's
My question was slipped. It was pertaining to how you, okay, yes, so if you were just starting or implementing, a youth-based program into an adult, program, would you still set up those age-specific groups starting like that, even if you're starting from 0 kids to
Yes, sir.
how many?
Yes, sir. That's what I did. We opened up our school in St. Petersburg, Florida in March 12, 2005. And we had 2 sessions to choose from, Monday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 9, 10 and up. That's why the buy one, get one free worked really well for us. We got like 20 people to take advantage of that one particular offer. So you get one of them, get your younger sibling in there for free, it fills up those classes. But at first, when we first started the first month or two, we only averaged, Jill, about 4 kids per class, but that was fine. Totally fine with me. Because I really got to set the pace for that particular class. So absolutely, yes. I'm working with several martial arts schools that have started from the ground up with age-specific programs. Yeah, if you set it the way you want it, then it's a lot easier than making changes later on down the road. However, I've also worked with schools who had it one way, and then they switched to the age-specific way too. And people are afraid and saying, well, we don't want parents to yell at us because we're making changes, right? You're not making changes, because if you tell somebody you're changing your class ages, they're going to say, well, what are we doing wrong? And you have to change it. We say you're innovating. Now you're making them even more specific to really target those stages of development. I know there's a lot of Schumann Concept members. Has anybody went from the large age groups here to age specific? Marcia, did you? Mark, you did? RJ? Ace? Okay, Jasmine. So if you wanted to, instead of having me up here, if you wanted to talk to any one of them and ask them how they made the transition, I'm sure they would be more than happy to help. And then I'll just pay you guys later, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Mal.
You're welcome.
We're gonna have one more question at the end of the day. We'll have all the speakers here, so if you have any more questions, Melody is gonna be here at the end of the day, so we can have, you can ask any question you want. We need to be on the schedule, so we're gonna have one more question, and then if you have any question, we're gonna have Melody here at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'll be around all weekend too, so you can grab me in the hallway too, as well.
Okay, just real quick,
Yes, sir.
the times, could you give us an idea of the times for the
Sure.
different ages?
Sure. We run on Mondays and Wednesdays, our 3 and 4-year-old class is from 3:45 to 4:15. 5 and 6-year-olds is right after that, 4:15 to 5. 7 and 9-year-olds is from 5 to 5:45. 10 and up is from 5:45 to 6:30. And then my black belts is from 6:30 to 7:15. That's on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do it 15 minutes later. So 3 and 4 is at 4 o'clock to 4:30. 5 and 6-year-olds is from 4:30 to 5:15. 7 and 9-year-olds is from 5:15 to 6. And then 10 and up is from 6 to 6:45, and then black belt is from 6:45 to 7:30. So, guys, I get out of school, I'm out at the door by 7:30 every night. I have adult programs, but I outsource those to adults who come in and run them. Because my goal is to edit and amplify everything, make my job a lot easier. If you'd like a copy of my schedule, just email me, and I can email that over to you. Or you can check out my school website. It's www.onthematma.com. onthematma.com. And you can see that as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is wrap it up here. And again, like I said, we'll be here at the end of the day for Q&A. So please write your questions down now, because I last CWAY, I know a lot of people had questions, and then we're going to save it for the end. And then there's a lot more content that you're going to be learning today throughout the day. We got some really fantastic seminars put together by Sensei Nick and Sensei Sean. So write your questions down now. I'll be here all day, most of the night until we go out, and then same thing tomorrow. So you can always catch me in the hall as well. But really quickly, I just want to thank ChampionsWay for giving me the opportunity to come up here and hopefully inspire you guys, and hopefully you got a lot out of this, and hopefully this was a good kickstart to a fantastic weekend. So thank you guys very much.